happens. Fuck it.
What do you think this button will do?
What do I think this button will do? I don't know.
Yeah, push
Are we
it.
going? We're going. It's happening, everybody. Things are
Push it
happening,
real
man.
good.
Things are happening, man. It's a scene. What's up? Last week, the first thing you guys heard was me saying something like, did I say the word poop at the beginning of last time? I did something stupid 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter.
Poop mouth.
Did I say
Poop
poop
ball.
ball? Did I say poop ball by accident? That might have been a thing.
If I gave you $20, Dan, would you say the word poop?
I would say it as many times as it required to get the $20.
All right, let's see how it goes. Dan, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, a poop ball presentation. We're classy over here. We're all class. This is the live part of the show. The whole show is live, but this is not going out on the recorded pod. This is for all of you guys that sit in the room and wait early. You're like, these guys are going to do something dumb at the beginning, and I'm going to laugh at them. And this is that time. So, welcome. Good morning, Brew. I'm Dan. He's Brew. Good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of something dumb to do, and I went immediately, thank you, John Oliver's show, which is mildly entertaining to me. All the St. Patrick's Day impressions that news anchors do around the United States.
Oh, God. I saw that segment.
Yeah.
That's bad.
You know, it's not that his show's bad. I don't think the show's bad. I just think that he leaves a lot of money on the table.
Yeah.
Where he could go.
I meant the St. Patrick's Day impressions were bad. The show's fine. It's not like appointment viewing for me or anything, but sometimes I'll throw it on demand while I'm exercising or something. It's good. It's good background noise.
If it's on before I'm going to bed to start the week, because I believe it's on Sundays.
It is, yeah, but they re-air it, and then you can pull up on demand anything these days, which is pretty much the way to go, unless you want to watch reruns of How I Met Your Mother all the time. And nah,
where do you stand on that show?
I'm okay with it. I'm mostly indifferent towards it. I really liked it at the beginning. I thought it was pretty stupid in the middle, and then it was sort of like fine. They wrapped it up. They were like, let's get this thing done. I could understand. There was just a total lack of effort on the part of the actors by like season 5, where they were just totally going through the motions. There was no, except for Neil Patrick Harris, who's just awesome all the time. He gets high marks no matter what he does for me. That's just NPH.
That show, yeah, that is the epitome of a CBS. It was a step up from The Big Bang Theory. I think that might have been the thing that, like 5 million steps up from The Big Bang Theory.
You mean you didn't like a show that just made fun of nerds all day, every day?
Is that what they did? I can't pay attention to it long enough. Now, to me, CBS is always that right down the middle network.
Yeah, they really are.
Everybody loves Raymond.
They are right down the middle.
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Don't push the envelope with How I Met Your Mother. It was fine. I mean, it was fine. That's the thing. Like, does anybody feel strongly against or for any of those shows?
Like anything CBS does.
They're just like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's the go-to. It's fine. You want to talk some fantasy basketball? No. Yeah, me neither.
No. I do. But
I'm exhausted.
It's that time of year. Everything matters. Everything matters. And it's so stupid.
Can I say one thing before I hit the actual record button on the regular pod?
Am I going to be giving you $20?
No. Well, maybe.
Would you like another $20, Dan?
It's $20 adjacent, according to what the terms you laid forth. I am experiencing stomach issues because of the fantasy playoffs right now. It's too much stress. It's too much stress, man.
And you know what? I don't do the stat tracker during the year.
No, I don't either.
Like the way we're doing it right now. I'm just not prepped for this. I'm sweating.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I love it, but I also don't like it. All right, I'm gonna hit the real button now. I'm gonna turn us off for 5 seconds here. Everybody, radio silence, you jerks.
What happens if I hit the button? Hit the button, Dan.
Oh, I got to turn off everybody's microphone. Hey, I should get more sleep. All right, good morning. For real this time. I'm not going to screw this up. I am going to screw this up. This is Fantasy NBA Today. It's live Friday. I'm Dan Besbris. He's Aaron Bruski. The big dog is in the building, and the big dog saith, that's what I'm talking about. And, of course, you can see the delicious logo on your screen if you're watching this thing on YouTube Live. If you're listening later on, we'll tell you about it. This show, like all of our shows, is brought to you by Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Brew, you got a box on the desk there? You usually have your prop with you.
You know,
no prop today?
Too far away, man. I can't reach it, but I'm stocked up.
There you go.
So
it's in the thermos.
We're all good. What up, Glenn?
What up, Glenn? I did the big reveal on yesterday's podcast by accident. I meant to do it with Mike on Wednesday that we had a winner of the contest donating their Hawaiian Isles prize to Mike Apatria. But now I don't even know if he knows there's just going to be a box that shows up at his door, which is going to be pretty sweet.
We didn't tell him, did we?
No, well, I didn't tell. Only if he listened to yesterday's podcast, which I doubt he did because he's a ridiculously busy man who doesn't sleep. And I wouldn't dare say, hey, spend another 40 minutes listening to a show where I explain things you've already researched. That seems redundant. Anyway, pretty cool prize showing up at Mike's doorstep. We still got a couple more of those DFS contests next week, but big thank you to Hawaiian Isles. Kona Coffee Company, HawaiianIsles.com. You can search for Hawaiian Isles on Amazon, or you can bug them on Twitter at HI Kona Coffee. Brew, a lot of things upset my stomach in this world, and the fantasy playoffs right now are at the absolute tip top of that list. I got up this morning, and within like 45 minutes of me taking care of my child, but also at the same time going through 900 streaming options for the last 3 days of the week, I had developed a stomach ailment. Do you ever watch, we were talking before going on air on this one, this is an NBC show. Do you watch The Good Place at all?
No, but I want to.
Yeah,
I see the commercial and I go, yeah, that might be something I'd watch, but then I never figure out how to actually get to the show.
So wifey forced me to watch it, and I'm glad she did. It's pretty funny. It's by the guys who did Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Parks and Rec.
There you go.
Yeah, good people behind it, and it's funny. And then one of the characters, basically, anytime he has to make a decision, he gets a stomach ache. I can relate with that guy right now because I'm staring down the barrel of a very weird week. I think everybody is. Brew, on a scale from 1 to 1,000,000, how many players are going to be shut down tonight before the game starts?
Honestly, it started happening yesterday, and I just feel for everybody that likes head-to-head. It just is there's no good answer. We talk about this every single year. You can end your playoffs in, like basically right after the All-Star break.
But that's not fun, though. I mean, your season's like 15 weeks long, and then you just sit and watch for a month and a half.
I mean, we're one of my favorite head-to-head leagues, the 30 deep. I made the playoffs. I've got a pretty damn good team. Unfortunately, it doesn't make it to the end, and a lot of it comes down to just weird stuff. These guys are doing battle right now. Right now, Rick Kamla is doing battle with Matt Stroop. These two old war horses, and Jimmer Fredette is become this.
I loved it,
but
not only I feel like we need to even tell more of the story, which is we got so many people that there's only 4 teams left, but because Jimmer wasn't added to the system yet, an email to the league actually went out saying, I am staking claim to Jimmer the second he gets added.
That was an old warhorse move, by the way.
Yeah.
Kamla went up. That was a solid above the board rule that but look at how the league is getting decided. If Jimmer comes from, where was he playing? China? Comes into the league and probably scores 40 one night.
Yeah, but you know who else is still hanging around in the 30 deep playoffs is our good buddy and honorary hoop baller, Benny Aziz.
He's dangerous, man.
His team's sick.
Benny knows his stuff, and but this head-to-head thing, I can't wait to be the part of the innovators that fix issues like these as we roll out some of the development stuff that we'll be rolling out in the coming years.
It's hard
because it's a problem without a solution with the way the system's currently set up. You can't get around silly season. So what do you do?
I don't know. I've heard of a few different suggestions, and all of them have their own new issues, like the idea of games capping the playoffs. Basically, we're like, look, you got 50 games to use however you choose, but then it's basically whoever's silly season loses the least impactful guys. Because then you're the only way for a team, and I'm going through this right now, and I know they say don't talk about your own fantasy team, but I'm going to do it anyway, where, I was dealing with the Kevin Love thing and the Zach LaVine thing, and last week it was the Jimmy Butler rest day. And so for me, it was like, okay, I lost 3 of my, top 5 guys in a spot. A games cap actually would hurt me there, because my only hope of winning in that point is to really cleverly game out my long streaming to turn 4 moves in a week into 6 extra games, because unless my opponent loses 3 of his top 5 guys, I'm going to get my butt kicked. So that doesn't work. I have no idea what to do to solve this, because I don't want to end the season early. That's the only real solution that makes sense. And if I don't want to do that, then I'm left with no options. So then I just have a stomachache. That's my option.
I completely understand why people love daily formats, and they love the idea of streaming because you're more just into it. You got way more action. It favors the people that are better fantasy players that do the work. So I get that. I almost don't want to mess with that at all. But streaming has also, if you play in a lot of leagues, I like the weekly leagues set up to the extent that it forces everybody to have that one decision point at one point in time on Monday, where you kind of got to just weigh all the risks out and then go with what you think is best. That's one thing.
Maybe you go weekly with the opportunity to sub in one guy. If a guy
we actually looked at that in the FBA, which is the toughest fantasy league out there, bar none. The best players in the world play in this league. How
did it turn out? Because it seems like it's got some legs to it, where if your guy goes down on it.
Yeah, it was proposed probably, I want to say 6 years ago, and we couldn't find a way to do it. And because that weekly, you get, this was Chris Dunn at the beginning of the year is like, okay, you're going to start him for week 1, and then he gets hurt. Okay, he's back. You can start him for week 2. Okay, he gets hurt. So now you just got zeros for 2 straight weeks.
Right, but if you could sub him out on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, throw in one bench guy, and you're like, okay, this is my one move of the week. If someone else gets hurt on a Thursday, you just sort of swallow it, I guess, right?
Yeah, what it ended up being was the administrative burden was just not there. People didn't want that to be a part of it. But yeah, that could be a way to address it. But outside of the innovation in the league commissioner space just isn't there right now. I just watched ESPN roll out new game logs for their non-fantasy products that don't even show missed games. And they brutalized their product this last season. So,
they're unusable. I've never been out of that.
They've been struggling. I kind of like what Yahoo's doing out there. But there needs to be more innovation in order to fix some of these issues. Because what we're going to talk about when you guys are asking questions, it's like, okay, cool. I can tell you this right now, but guess what? You have no idea what's coming through the pipeline at 3 p.m. today. It ain't going to be good. It's going to be bad, and you just hope that it happens worse to your opponent than it does to you. So you do your best, and there is something to be said at draft day for targeting good playoff schedules, as well as targeting teams that aren't going to be subject to the whims of silly season. But really, come on,
you don't know.
We can kind of do this a little bit, but you could take a team like Atlanta and be like, well, they're just sort of playing. They don't care.
Yeah. They're
but look at what they did in the middle of the season to their guys. The
pre-tank.
You get an ankle injury, you got the 6 to 8 weeks off.
Yeah, we didn't know about the pre-tank. Registered trademark. The pre-tank, long streaming and pre-tank. We didn't know that it killed you at the beginning of the year instead of the end. But I guess if for playoff leagues, you're more worried about the end of the year. But still, you looked at teams this year and you thought, okay, if the Grizzlies didn't unload all of their pieces, they might have been a little more competitive. The Pels you figured would be playing towards the end, barring a
fighting for a playoff standing to try
Wolves,
to keep it Anthony Davis. You know,
the Wolves should have been fighting for a playoff spot. I mean, all these teams, and not the Wolves didn't have a particularly good playoff schedule, so maybe I'm not using the best example here. But if you're drafting based on who you think is going to be fighting for the 8th seed, you may have some bad fortune that comes your way. I think you really, I think it's okay to draft based on playoff schedule. So you look at a team, you're like, okay, the Kings have 12 games in the playoffs. Even if they're tanking 12 games, if you get most of those, you're still in pretty good shape. Whereas, you know, like
the Kings entered the season not telling anybody that Zach Randolph wasn't going to play a single minute.
don't draft Zebo.
Well, it wasn't about drafting Zebo. It was just, are they going to duplicate one of the worst decisions that we've seen in a while? You know, are they going to do it again?
Are you on my side now that it was one of the most brilliant tank jobs in recorded history?
Honestly, I think Dave Yeager is a very good basketball coach. Like, just X's and O's, understanding the game. He's forgotten more than we'll ever know. So it makes sense to me that
there was a tank.
He knew that it was brutal, just brutalizing their on-court performance, and it was. I think it was one of the subtlest, bestest tank jobs that you're gonna come across. That's fascinating to me. I mean, because like he convinced everybody in our small town, you know, that this was a really smart basketball decision, and it got parroted from the top of the top. And I mean, Zach Randolph gets credit for all these young guys improving their games through hard work over the summer, and you know, like all they did was just move him out, and the improvement came. Hey, before we get into your questions, Dan, though,
yeah,
you know, and enough about the Kings. It's exciting right now, I think, for a lot of hoop ball squads. Like, you know, some of the guys that got hurt in the early part of the year, like Clint Capella. You know, he's back and he's going.
Valanciunas. How about Valanciunas?
Valanciunas, Middleton. You know, with the injuries,
shots.
Getting to maybe just sort of somewhat redeem himself after what really, like, if you look at consistency with the NBA, he's like the easiest projection to predict, and then he just falls off the radar this year. That hurt me personally. But some of our guys are getting going, and you know, at the right time. And I got one team that has an outside at the FBA, has an outside shot at the first, winning the whole thing with what will end up being like a 22 roto point comeback.
Oof, man!
In about 3 to 4 weeks. It is firing, man. It's like a Christmas present. Every single night I open up the stat tracker, looking at this and hoping that that like the Kings the other night, that the 25-point lead in the fourth quarter is not safe.
Well, I'm hoping for the best. I got a few good things going. I don't know if I'm going to end up in first in any of my roto leagues, but I'm pretty locked into second in one, third or second in the other. That's money. That's what I'm good with. I'll take home some cash. Questions for you, Brew, and they're all pretty injury related, so we'll deal with them best we can, and then we'll transition over to the chat room. And we might, frankly, not have a full 60-minute show today. That would not be the end of the world, frankly. There's a million things going on, and there'll probably be news that people need to pay attention to at the end of it. Minnesota shutdowns. That's where we're starting on this thing. The Wolves officially shutting down Rob Covington, Jeff Teague, and Derrick Rose, and then Taj Gibson is sort of like a maybe shutdown right now. Can anybody jump up and over the cusp? Because I haven't been super impressed with the other Timberwolves, even though they've been given an opportunity now. Tyus Jones feels like the safe play. Can Dario Saric move over the ledge here? They also have by the way, pretty bad playoff schedule going on for head-to-head leaguers. But if you're rolling with games cap stuff, could any of them be a 9-cat value going forward?
I mean, this is a weirdly unproductive fantasy squad. You'd think with some defined roles and, you know, everybody getting mostly 30 minutes or above. But Saric is not. He's just not producing. You know, he was kind of there last night's game. You know, 15 and 7, 2 threes, but like getting nothing out of him for defense. I have a hard time telling people to just go all in on him when theoretically, if you do get Gibson, who doesn't need to play, if he does take time off, this should theoretically open things up. You've seen Andrew Wiggins be off the court a little bit. This is not a lot of stuff standing in his way, but he's just not able to get over the hump. I mean, he's playable, but I mean, it's betting on a lot that this is the moment that he's good this year. So now, I mean, Tyus Jones is fine. He to me, he's not a must-start guy, but he's pretty damn close. Yeah, it's just nothing cooking.
Yeah, well, that's where we are now. Phoenix, Kelly Oubre out. Josh Jackson hurt his ankle yesterday. TJ Warren hasn't seen the light of day in forever. What do we got going on? Oh, Tyler Johnson. Sorry, almost forgot one of the guys that they've got out. Mikal Bridges, he's doing his low usage thing that always works out pretty nicely. Rashawn Holmes actually had a really nice game with DeAndre Ayton picking up some fouls and kind of dealing with Andre Drummond throughout that ball game. Can anybody get up and over the hump in Phoenix that we haven't talked about in the past?
They have a 4-game week in the final real week of the season. So that's very intriguing if your league goes that far, or if you're in a roto league and you're just looking to kind of squeeze off 4-game weeks in the end of the season. So like Rashawn Holmes, it's good as long as he's not hurt, which it seems like based on the last performance, they were able to sort of figure that thing out, and not a huge deal. Whether or not they want him going off is an interesting question, because if you could keep him underneath the radar without having some massive explosive games, that might theoretically help you re-sign him if you're Phoenix. I think if you're a GM with any brain whatsoever, you're like, just don't play. Don't play Holmes. Like, just have a nice quiet end of the season and buy him for like $8 million and just reap the rewards. But Bridges is the one that he got 12 shots up in this last one. So that you could continue to see. And he's the guy who, if they somehow flip a switch and they go, hey man, we want to see what you got, let's get your number up to 14, 15 shots per game. You're going to see kind of what happened in this last one here. He got 7 assists in that game. So he could be huge down the stretch. And this is just a cherry on top of an amazing season. Glad we led the charge there. Glad that we told people not to drop him. Glad that, we just stayed the course. And, he's on all of our squads. And, he's going to be good. To me, a must-start player, unless you're category hunting, which is the big disclaimer on anything we're going to say here today. If his categories don't help you, you got to move on. Or maybe not move on, but, not have him in your lineup. So, yeah, he's going to be good. It's going to be fun for him, because I could see Booker getting an early rest. Ayton has pretty much run out of gas, so I think he could be a candidate for rest, which kind of works against the Holmes standing underneath the radar stuff, but also adds to the appeal of either adding, stashing, or just keeping an eye on Holmes and being ready to move on him as the season winds down.
Shout out, by the way, to my guy Wayne Ellington in that game, who hit 6 3-pointers and has.
I saw that. Yeah,
he's floating.
What's his number, Dan? What are we looking at?
I don't remember when he joined the Pistons. I do know that. Let's see. 6 and 7 in the last 2 is going to bump it up a little bit, and prior to that, it was 1 4 3 2 3, which is
so he's at 3.1.
Is that what that comes out to? 7, let's see, 7 games, 8, 12, 13, 20, 26. So what did I say?
By 7. Oh, we might be at your 3.4 then.
That's over the last 7 games, though. That's just as far back as
fair.
That's just as far back as my screen goes. I don't pull up. When did he get traded? Was it February 13th? Was that his first game with the new team?
What were we counting? Just his Detroit days?
That's what I'm working on here. I don't know, man. Somebody else.
I got your answer here. Give me 2 seconds. I'll get your answer.
Oh yeah, they should break it down by team, huh? Well, but the problem is his first game in Detroit, he played like 12 minutes and didn't hit any threes, so it's gonna drag it down. That 0 for 7.
My God, ESPN. I did find the person that developed the fantasy app. I will not share that information. 3.0, Dan. 3.0.
But you didn't pull out. You got to pull out that first game though.
All right.
So
what did he get? 0 in that game?
Yeah, he played 19 minutes and didn't hit any. And then he played 33 minutes in the next one. So I think
He
he can
got
start
51 as a member of Detroit over
16.
Over 16 games. So 16 into 51 is
it's about
3, and then 3 into 16 is 3.1, Dan. 3.1.
Yeah, but he's on the rise, baby. He's coming in hot. He was under that mark 2 games ago. He has 13 over his last 2. That's probably, he was under 3 before that. Come on, Wayne. I need you, baby. Keep it rolling.
We really upped our street cred with the nerds.
Yeah,
here.
with the Wayne Ellington numbers. Tim Hardaway Jr. injury. Does that change anything in Dallas for you? Is there anybody you'd pick up? But I mean, they're a mishmash of mess.
I mean, Brunson is probably already picked up in all those leagues, so
yeah,
he's the guy that's really benefited. I mean, if you squint and you wanted to look at Brokoff, I mean, maybe he gets, if you need 3-pointers, maybe he gets loose. Maybe Trey Burke, possibly,
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Dallas.
I mean, that's kind of what this is all about right now. Is like we actually just mentioned Ryan Brokoff on the show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he.
Is his name even Ryan? Am I?
Yeah, you're right. I think didn't he do the news for like 30 years in the 1970s through the 90s. Right.
Until a scandal rocked him, I'm sure. Like,
who hasn't been? Who else we got on the injured list here? CJ McCollum being out. It actually, I thought maybe Rodney Hood. It seems like it's actually been Seth Curry playing a bunch of basketball lately.
Yeah, Rodney Hood is just not good. I was trying not to rhyme, but it was just right there.
Rodney Hood's just not good.
He's just not good. And
Dr. Brew.
But Seth is ready to score, so I think that's points, threes, tiny helping of assists, but not really. That's definitely something to look at if you need help.
And a 4-game week next week, and a 4-game week the week after that.
Yep, so absolutely.
Portland schedule,
and he's gonna get those minutes for the rest of the way. So
seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Hood is not gonna impact him there. It's gonna be Seth Curry.
The Bucks lost Malcolm Brogdon for the rest of the regular season and then part of the playoffs, and then lost Niko Mirotic for the rest of the regular season as well. It would assume, I should say. So this kind of takes them back almost to where they were at the start of the year. Ersan Ilyasova at power forward. He's going to have to do a little bit more. The point guard spot, it seems like, is not necessarily set. We saw more Pat Connaughton in their last ball game. Is he the guy? Is Connaughton the guy that gets over the hump, or is he just going to play more minutes and his usage is going to be so low that it doesn't matter?
No, I think he's worth a look. I think he can have a little bit of a robust stat set for what he is. His last game, 11, 3, and 4, but then you get 2 steals to go with those 2 threes. So I think he's on the radar, in this silly season, probably 14, 16 team leagues. You're just trying to, get some threes and get a player that's got a chance of being productive. It's not something you're getting excited about at all. But I think we're going to get to see a lot of Chris Middleton. This is interesting. We did this conversation just now on the Cause and Brew show, which will be out later today. Are the Bucks? They're at risk? I think in the 1 seed against the Heat in the 8 seed. And Middleton's had a really, we talked about this earlier. He struggled. He's going to get a chance. They could use this period to get Middleton going, which would be a great thing for them in the playoffs. But Middleton, Lopez, Bledsoe, they're going to have some monster numbers. And then Giannis, of course, when he's not getting rested.
Yeah. Stuff. It almost,
there's so many theoreticals and hypotheticals.
I know.
It's exhausting. And on a show when you got to kind of simplify it, condense it, and then spit it out, it's a mess.
That's why I'm sighing deeply between every single one of these questions. Like, well, I got to ask it, but I mean, what the hell will we know about who's going to rest in the next one? Okay, next thing on the list, the Lakers. LeBron took a game off for a non-back-to-back. They called it groin injury, but he's considered probable for their game tonight. What we've seen, and this seems to be with or without LeBron, is that KCP is playing for a contract here down the stretch. Is that a trustworthy name for the next 2 and change weeks of basketball?
Oh, no, not at all.
They do have a good schedule, though.
Yeah, and I've been sort of watching it, and that's going to be this will be the thing I'm watching in LA is what does Alex Caruso do? You know, he could be this sort of, you know, very productive fantasy asset. The steals and blocks the other night were completely just out of control. KCP theoretically is your safe play there. Can't really trust him. What's going on with contracts and, you know, his representation as far as LeBron and all that goes is an interesting little subplot. So let's play that out a little bit. Do the Lakers, in an effort to keep Rich Paul happy, do they make sure that he gets shots and that he gets minutes? And,
it seems like it. It seems like it right now. He's basically, since the Lakers went into this full tank mode, KCP's played 31, 22, 29, 28, and 34 minutes. He's taken 11, 12, 9, 11, and 20 shots over those 5 games. Some of them with and some of them without LeBron. He's just like, he's hucking them up there now.
It's so funny how the NBA works like this. There's a lot of that stuff, you know, shots, touches, minutes, like, you know, what I've been guaranteed, you know, what does management want, all that stuff. It's really kind of where the money gets made on this in the fantasy side. But I personally would rather have Caruso over KCP. I just want to see what he can do as a versatile fantasy producer. If you're looking to give a player 28 minutes per game that, you know, as you're semi-tanking down the stretch, you might as well see what you have in Caruso. He might in some ways be better than KCP. I think the Lakers have a lot to gain by getting him out there on the floor. And then he has been a bit of a stat magnet. So I personally would rather own Caruso. I made a big play in the FBA league to get him. I would not have made the same big play to get KCP. So I'll go Caruso over KCP.
All right, fair enough. Avery Bradley out for at least a week. Mike Conley resting in half of back-to-backs. It feels like it's DeLon's time to shine finally, no?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right,
and
an easier one.
Yeah, he's been fairly good. We know what we're getting out of him. He hasn't really been cut loose yet, so there's some upside that we haven't realized yet. So, yeah, I think he's absolutely on the radar. Schedule's not great, but, you know, at this time of year, you're just sort of looking for players that have upside, that have the potential to, you know, have the offense sort of hover around them a little bit. That said, though, they don't really it doesn't look like they're ready to turn the team over to him just yet.
No.
So they got to kind of cap that upside talk a little bit. Still trying to win games. I respect that.
Yeah, so do Lakers fans trying for a higher pick, like yours truly. The last thing on my list was Trevor Ariza, now out for the Washington Wizards. That feels like it's got to be the death blow for them, right? Like they're finally going to say, okay, we're not going to make it. Have they finally given up? They have to have given up now, right?
They might even be statistically out of it. I haven't run the numbers yet. But you got Scott Brooks there. So, I mean, it does feel that way, though, that this was the turning point that we're talking about. I think we've been covering this turning point the last 2 weeks in the Daily Dish. I do write another one up tonight. Getting kicked out of the playoffs and making that writing on the wall could make it really tough to push Bradley Beal, Trevor Ariza, etc. through injury or just, you know, through the end of a grind of a season. So this is why you didn't drop Thomas Bryant. Top 40, or pardon me, top 50. We'll round up. Top 50 player since the beginning of December.
Is he going to be turned loose? Because yesterday he got a ton of time against Nikola Jokic. They've got Miami coming up. They're a relatively big team. Or was this more matchup stuff, and we can continue to expect kind of the 15 some nights, 35 some nights, 20 some nights, where it evens out nicely. But if he goes big every night, he could be a monster.
Well, I mean, let's look at this. He's been a top 59 cat guy since the beginning of December. Since if you measure from December 1st to today. So this has been, while it's been crappy for him. So if he does get this opportunity, I mean, you're looking at a possible top 30, top 20 type of a run here. I mean, that's outstanding. Good schedule, I believe, off the top of my head. For some reason, I'm not remembering their schedule off the top of my head.
They had a good one. Let me see if it continues.
Yeah, I think they might be in the middle of the good schedule right now.
Oh, no, it's still good. You're right. Yeah, they were a 4-4-4. I couldn't remember what next week was, but it's another 4 spot for him.
This is sometimes you got to go with the numbers. Like if somebody is that good in that small amount of a time, just because it's somewhat inconsistent, just because, it sucks to look at the box score and see a bad night, 16 minutes and, some like 2 money counting stats. But this is the beauty of his fantasy game, is he shoots the free throw pretty well, and he almost always gets you 2 money counters no matter what. And usually 3.
Yeah, he's actually at 82% at the free throw line, so even better than kind of well. He's been very good.
Here's another thing about him. He just doesn't look good on the court. Like, he's not a defender at all.
No, not even. But that fits with Washington.
Like, he wouldn't play on most teams at all. But, no, I mean, look, this is kind of like he has gotten sold short. There was people calling you stupid for holding him out there. I mean, it's okay to disagree, but like, you're stupid for holding on to a top 50 asset. I don't know what that's all about. So yeah, it's going to be fun for him. And then, Troy Brown, I think you would like to, he didn't get a money counter in this last game, but he's somebody to take a look at. It just all comes back to Scott Brooks though. Like, he comes from this old school, don't quit until the last, until the 83rd game, even though you're not playing an 83rd game.
Yeah, and Jabari Parker obviously is just going to go nuts for the next couple of games, right?
Same thing with Bobby Portis. I mean, the two of them will alternate big lines. There's not going to be a lot of consistency in whether or not you get steals or blocks out of the guys. But yeah, both of those guys are going to have fun. Trevor Ariza could come back and have fun. It's whoever's going to play is going to have fun. There's going to be no pressure on them, and it's just going to they're just going to run it out there. And I think it's going to be a great fantasy team, the Wizards.
Let's talk questions. We got a few. We got a handful here. We're going to speed our way through them. Jerry, we see your post in the chat room, man. We're not at the chat room yet. If this is your first one of these, that's cool, and we welcome you, but that's not how it goes. We do our big topics first, then we get to the chat room.
Did Jerry want the show to be all about Jerry?
No, he just was upset that Caruso had a dud in his last ballgame.
I'm playing Jerry.
Which is true, though. Caruso did have kind of a clunker in his last one.
Oh, yeah. He absolutely did. And, yeah, I'm good with that. I don't think, like, when I see Caruso, I go, yeah, that's like the last 8 games, Think like Patty Mills, I want to say, like, 2 years ago. He had 2 straight years of the last couple games of the season just going nuts. Like, he, to me, profiles as the perfect garbage time Lakers player.
Let's see. Frank, me and the Kangs Don't Talk No More was asking about guys on shutdown teams. Hopefully we covered the ones that you were referring to. If not, feel free to throw a question at the end of the chat. We'll get into that. VP, would you guys drop a guy like Jeremy Lamb, who's only playing once in that last... Well, let's see. Let me look at the streaming schedule to make sure that I'm getting these numbers right. Charlotte has... yes, I see what you're talking about. So Charlotte only has 1 game over the first 4 days of next week, and then they go 2 more towards the end of the week. So it's a backloaded 3-game week. So now I'll pivot back to the question here, and I think it'll make more sense. Would you drop him for somebody that's playing either twice or even 3 times those first 3 games of the week? My answer to that, VP, is, it comes down to the numbers. Assuming the guy you pick up is a 4-game week guy, then you're gaining 1 game over Jeremy Lamb. Or are you turning that spot into one where after those first 4 days, where you have 3 games, and you pick someone else up who has another 2 games, because then maybe it's worth it. 5 games out of fringe streaming guys versus 3 out of Lamb. That's fairly comparable. I think the 5-gamer probably has a little bit of an edge even, but you have to understand kind of what you're dropping versus what you're picking up. Are there any other guys that are out there? Could you potentially get Lamb back for his 2 games over the last 3 days? I almost had to drop Jimmy Butler this week because he only had 1 game over 4 days, and half my team was falling off the map hurt. I just needed more games played. So you got to weigh those things out, run the numbers, look at the competition. Lamb has been great lately, shot the ball poorly last night, but his role is colossal right now. So I would say certainly be careful with that. Brew, I'm going to come over to you for a non-streaming question. Will Barton, DeAndre Ayton in next week? We're looking ahead here, I think. Let me make sure I'm getting this right.
Glitched out right after you said Will Barton.
DeAndre Ayton is the other choice for next week. Assuming they're both healthy, which one do you think you'd be starting next week?
Just real quick, I believe Denver has 4 games.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm probably still going with Ayton. It's still a very crowded situation in Denver. Ayton, for all of the kind of slowing down, and he's even admitted, he says, look, I'm beat. This is, he's pretty talkative actually for a rookie in a small market. But no, Ayton has this potential to, he's a top 30, 40 guy. So he has potential to really rock. And Barton, it's not going to take much for him to fall off. He has been playing better, so that's nice. And you would expect that to continue as they gear up for the playoffs. But no, give me Ayton in that case.
So let's see. What do we got here? Should I drop Josh Okogie to get 2 games out of Bruno Caboclo? Interesting.
Look, the Caboclo has gotten he's made a little bit more noise recently. If you're using him, you're going for basically money counting stats. Yeah, I would go, and it's funny, I forgot who the first guy is. Okogie. Okogie's he's been on my radar because I do need money counting stats in this big money league, and he's sort of disappointed in that area. I have no problem going Caboclo over Okogie.
All right, fair enough. How do you guys see the D'Lo, Dinwiddie, LeVert thing shaking out on more of a dynasty approach? So we got a nice long-term question from our buddy Connor Sullivan. That's it's nice to not think streaming for a couple of seconds just to take some of my stomach pain away. What do you think about these guys going forward, Brew? Are they all going to stay with the Nets? Can they really create room for all 3 of those guys long term?
I hope not. I mean, that's going to be bad for all of them involved. Right now, Karis LeVert is just not there. The pretty bad injury and, trying to come back on the fly when the team is, when you make D'Angelo Russell an all-star, that's, you're just sort of emboldening him to do what he does. And so as a restricted free agent, what is the deal that he's going to get offered? I've been seeing people talk about max money for him. Like, okay. They were hiding him on defense. I believe he was covering Corey Brewer against the Kings at one point. So there's a lot, the market's going to determine this. So if D'Angelo Russell gets signed to a new team, that's probably best case scenario for his value, because that means they want him and he's got, a role carved out for him. If he gets matched by Brooklyn, that's not going to be good for him. Like, there's a legitimate argument to be made that Spencer Dinwiddie is a better fit for that squad. With LeVert also in the mix, I think that if LeVert's injury, just sort of, it kind of goes along a normal course of a serious injury, but it doesn't impact him long term, he'll be the better player. So he'll end up pushing, the ball out of Russell's hands, and at any rate, they're all going to have to share it. So if they all stay in Brooklyn, I would call Russell probably a top 60 guy in 8 cat leagues if all 3 stay healthy for a year. Dinwiddie's obviously going to be lower than that. He's going to be probably a top 100 guy, and then LeVert could probably edge his way up to the top 60 as well in 8 cat formats. In 9 cat formats, you got to kind of ding Russell by about 20, 30 ranks, and then you got to look at LeVert possibly getting dinged a couple, probably 10, 20 ranks, and then Dinwiddie stays somewhat similar. So that's if they stay, but you're hoping, if you're a D'Angelo Russell backer, that he does get a big offer from somebody, and then they go let him play point guard. And then the sweet shooting stat set that he's capable of, because he can make a floater. This is the big thing. He can get to the rim and make a floater. He's a great 3-point shooter, so he could shoot the current 43%. Problem is right now in this situation is he's fluctuating too much. He could go 9 of 25 on any given night. And if he ever loses a step, and can't get to the floater, then he could be a 40% shooter. That wouldn't look so great.
The next question here from Al says, are there any players you feel dropped in value this year but could be in line for a nice bump next year? So basically the post-hype guys. Have you started to think about that yet, Brew?
I have. I'm trying to wake my brain up and see, if anybody sort of fits that criteria here.
I'll admit, I haven't done a ton of digging on that. I'm generally I look for guys that were drafted pretty high and then wildly underperformed, and gauge whether or not I think that's a one-time blip or a more permanent change. Like an Oladipo, who even before his injury, his free throw percent was way down. His field goal percent was way down. Is he a guy that gets drafted around later next year and then jumps back up again?
He's a weird sort of case study because he's now shown that he can have good years and bad years. And a lot of it comes down to fit with him. So this year they stocked up their team a little bit. Tyreek Evans came on board. There's too many players, and I think he kind of tightened up and tried to do maybe a little bit too much. But at the same time, that's kind of what he was supposed to be there for. So that's worked against him in every respect. The injury has been a disaster for anybody that's drafted Victor Oladipo. I know I had him in a couple places. It's not been pretty. Post hype.
Okay, I got it. I got a game for you now. We'll play the post hype game. This is very much a lightning round type deal, so we can more than adjust our thoughts later on. But just initial inclinations are: do these guys bounce back next year? We already did Oladipo. Next one on the list is Chris Middleton. Does he bounce back next year?
I'm not sure where he'll be.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Okay, next one on the list is Draymond Green. I guess you could say not sure where he'd be.
No, you worry about his athleticism.
Yeah,
I agree with that one. A lot of his value in defensive categories, and yeah, he could end up actually being a whack fantasy all-star if he's not careful.
Kevin Love, does he stay more healthy? It'd be tough to be less healthy than this season, but can he be closer to a 3rd or 4th round guy next year?
I don't know if I can bring myself to draft that guy.
I don't blame you. Jamal Murray.
Oh yeah, he's a post hype.
Aaron Gordon, who's been a disappointment multiple years in a row. I think he might just be this guy.
Yeah, until somebody tells him he's not a point guard or a guard, it's never going to be good.
Excuse me, I had to cough. It's still there. Couple of nuggets. Gary Harris, Will Barton. Can they bounce back next year?
They can, but there's a lot going on with that team. Sort of how do they flesh out their newfound depth? That they got to get rid of some bodies via trade. So that's too easy. It's too hard to tell with those guys. But with Harris, he's going to be better than this last year. He can't be this bad.
Couple of point guards here. Ricky Rubio, 3-point guards. Ricky Rubio, Goran Dragic, Jeff Teague. Can any of those 3 guys bounce back next year?
I think they like Teague and Dragic can. I'm worried about Ricky Rubio. I think this might be the wheels falling off. There might be some value in that, but are we really trying to get that value? That's not a great bet. But the other 2, if they can stay healthy, yeah, they'll be better. But yeah, I'm not looking at those 3 for pretty much any reason next year.
Okay, I'm not going too much farther here because once you get past like 75 in the draft, then it's tough to.
I think the big name that I'm seeing as I'm sort of scrolling through
I have one for you. Is this? I wonder if we're about to say the same one.
Isaac.
Oh, I wasn't even going to say that one because he's actually not that far off from. He was drafted like at 90, and he's like number 125.
Yeah, well, I think the competitive websites had him higher. Like the ADP for him might have been a lower number because of just the public. And also, it's been a very public year. I just want to throw that out there, just for general consumption. The public, and I had that concern going into this season, is the public really made out on some picks that they probably shouldn't have. But no, Isaac, I don't think he was getting drafted at 60 in competitive leagues. Like, I didn't get any of him anywhere because we had him pretty damn high. It was just like people were crazy out there taking him in the early 60s. But no, I think next year will be a lot better for him.
I got one interesting name that was drafted not super high, but also not super low, and has just been not at all himself. Could Gordon Hayward be a way post-hype guy next year?
I don't think so, man. I think the questions that you had about his athleticism, his ability to create when he was at his peak in Utah were real. He is nowhere near that anymore. He's the mark out there. Here's a prediction for you in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays like 17 minutes a game. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a game that if they're behind in a series, 3-1, like that he doesn't play at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that either. Would you drop Jalen Brunson or Goran Dragic for Thomas Bryant?
Yeah. You look. Did I say this already? I love talking about Thomas Bryant right now. I can't believe that the hate he got as an asset at that level.
Yeah, you were mad about that even when it happened. I remember that day.
It's like, just don't call people stupid for it. I mean, it's like you make a bad play, fine, you could live with that. But like calling people stupid,
that's a weird move. It's a weird move. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which of these four guys is your favorite for a points league the rest of the way? And we're getting into the more of the streamy type. Seth Curry, who we talked about and you like. Shaq Harrison, who's seeing minutes because someone's out for Chicago every game. Reggie Bullock, who's just the most boring. Well, no, I almost called him the most boring of the four, and then Corey Joseph popped up because Darren Collison's out. So Seth Curry, Reggie Bullock, Shaq Harrison, Corey Joseph, who feels like the best points league selection the rest of the way. I think I'm leaning Seth Curry.
If there's a question that epitomizes the problems with playoff formats.
Yeah, that's the one.
What was the first play? Because I'm like immediately my brain's just like, no.
Seth Curry was the first. Reggie Bullock, Shaq Harrison, Corey Joseph are the four names.
Well, I mean, Chicago.
By the way, we're getting word as we're on air that Zach LaVine is a game-time decision for tomorrow. Chris Dunn is also a game-time decision for tomorrow with a thing. Otto Porter's
is that what they call it?
Basically.
He's got a thing.
He's got a thing. It was like, I think it said back. I don't know. It could be anything. Could be a big booger.
I go, you know what? Hey, go Seth Curry because they got 2 4-game weeks. Seth Curry. Final answer.
There you go. Yeah, I think it was Chris Dunn is questionable with a very hard booger in his nose. That's what got him out right now. Welcome to playoff basketball, everybody.
Was that your own joke or was that an NBA injury report?
That was my joke, I think. I don't know if maybe they've used it at some point. They've had, 15,000 different things, so it's probably been in there. But, yeah, we're going to go with that one. Also, I woke up with one of those today, so I felt like I didn't want to play basketball either. That's about
that
it.
One's worth. Hey, that's worth $20 too, Dan.
Saying the word booger on our show, yeah.
Disclosing that you had a very hard booger, and then fitting it into a Chris Dunn joke. Come on, that's got to be worth $20.
Yeah, thank you. You guys can all you can put it in my my electronic piggy bank. You guys can pay for my next DFS loss where you're taking my money anyway.
Oh boy. How's your bracket doing, Dan?
I didn't make one because I don't know anything about college basketball.
Turns out Nevada in the Final Four. Not a great idea.
I don't even know. There are 2 Nevadas. I don't even know which one is the right one.
Well, there's 2 twins on. There's a pair of twins on Nevada. I didn't even know that until the Cos and Brew show earlier today. I just thought they looked really similar and played exactly the same.
So you, much like me, you're not really piped into the NCAA.
No, we don't know anything over here.
Yeah, I don't. College basketball freaks me out. The Final Four is like the one time I pay attention because then you see really good teams playing each other. But there's so many. There's like 400 NCAA Division I teams. There are some really awful ones in there, including my precious Golden Bears, who are one of the worst in the world. Anyway, that I think does it actually for our show, believe it or not. Brew, anything we're pushing right now? We're at the end of the year. We got our nice recruits, so that's good. We got a whole bunch of ratings and reviews from people that like the pod. That's sweet.
You know, I think the next thing we're pushing for are web developers, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Dang, I didn't.
So if you are a web developer and you want to join a extremely fun project, looking at what those guys are doing right now, I'm extremely excited. So that's the next thing. We're going to be expanding team coverage here pretty soon. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
All right. Come to the Hoob. Join us here at the Hoob. You too can talk about your hard boogers on a podcast on a Friday.
Is that the pitch we're going with?
Yep, that's the one I'm rolling with today. We'll see how it goes. If it doesn't work, I'll try a different ailment. Stomach, nose, I got them all, baby. I am a frail individual. Brew, good luck. Good luck this weekend. I hope you feel better than I do right now.
I feel great, but that is the sign-off of the year. I hope you keep that one.
Thank you. Well, the next time you have time to make a Hoop Balls State of the Hoob, I'll point you back to March 22nd when Dan talked about his boogers in his stomach multiple times, repeatedly, to the point where people are probably signing off. Thanks for listening, everybody. I don't know why you did so, but thank you for doing it. I am at Dan Besbris on Twitter. I talk about this stuff on Twitter, too. He's at Aaron Bruski. He talks about real things on Twitter. Hoopball is at Hoopball Fantasy, and, of course, at HI Kona Coffee, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company, our proud partner here of all pods, shows, you name it, at hoop-ball.com. Good luck this weekend, everyone. Stream away if necessary. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'll try to get to the questions. I'm going to be watching a lot of these games because I'm freaking the crap out over here. And then we'll be back on Monday to set you up. And hopefully you'll be able to tell in the first sentence I speak on Monday's podcast if my team is still in the playoffs or not. I'm not hiding my emotions. They'll be right there on my sleeve. Again, good luck, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you in a couple days.